Okay, so now what we're doing is the Pythagorean Theorem, where all of these triangles are right triangles. And we know that because they all have this right angle that's in the triangle. Every single one of the problems that we'll do is using a right triangle. And we have to have a right triangle in order to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Now what this shows us is we want to be able to figure out all three sides of the triangle. And even if we only know two of the sides, we can still solve for the third side. So I'll give you the formula and we'll kind of work through that later. But first what we need to do is just identify the sides. Now our last unit was angle identification when we had the two parallel lines with a transversal. And we had to figure out where those areas were where the angle degrees were going. This is going to be in the same way, except the setup is the most important part. If you don't set it up correctly, you're going to do all this math and it will be incorrect at the end. So let's figure out how to do that first. If we look at this example problem that I have right here, what we have is we have three sides to it. And the first thing you want to label is your hypotenuse, okay? Now your hypotenuse, anybody know where the hypotenuse is? The hypotenuse is always across, let me get a different color here.
I've heard of the term.
Yeah, hypotenuse is always across from the 90-degree angle. Hypotenuse.
It sounds like a fancy word.
It is a fancy word. If you're looking to impress your friends, hypotenuse is the right word to use because people will be very impressed. So hypotenuse, and we're talking about right triangles, a hypotenuse is always the longest side of the triangle, and the longest side is always across from the 90-degree angle. So the way I figure it out is I say like, okay, look at this one, for example. See this right angle right here? If we pretend that that's like an arrow, what I do is I draw a little arrow. It's always pointing to the hypotenuse, okay? So the right angle always points straight to the hypotenuse. That's how we figure out what the hypotenuse is. Okay? Points to hypotenuse. Now the other two sides of the triangle, the hypotenuse, like we said, is the longest side. Maybe I'll put that down, longest side. Now the other two sides of the triangle, we're just going to call those the legs. Okay, and the legs, it doesn't actually matter which is which. Just like your legs are legs, right? So that is a leg. Maybe I should just put leg though. Let me just call them the leg, each leg. So that's a leg and a leg. Now what we need to do, okay, so we've identified the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, and it's across from this 90-degree angle. And what we need to do now is label those two sides. So the first thing we need to label is our hypotenuse. And we use the letters A, B, and C. And the reason is because those will plug into our formula in just a bit. And then that way we can quickly just throw in our numbers and we'll be able to get just an accurate number real quickly. Let me get this color red. That'll be perfect. So we have, when we're doing Pythagorean theorem, we use an A, a B, and a C. Okay. The A is going to be a leg, the B is going to be a leg, and the C is going to be your hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. Please put your hypotenuse away when you get back from school. That's pretty cool. All right, here we go. So the first thing we're going to label in here, we already know our hypotenuse, so I'm going to label this C off the bat. Then what we need to do is label our two legs, A and B. Well, we already said that it doesn't really matter between the legs, which is A and which is B. So I could actually switch them. I could make this one a B and this one an A, or this one an A and this one a B. The legs don't matter as long as that one's A and one's B. The hypotenuse C is the one that matters. So what we're going to do now is do a couple examples. Let's take a look at number one. Okay, number one right here. So what I want to do first is label my hypotenuse, which is going to be my C. So I always do this. I look at my 90-degree angle here. It's going to be in all these problems. And I kind of make it like an arrow. And wherever that 90-degree angle is pointing to, that's going to be my hypotenuse, which is my C. Hypotenuse. That's going to be my hypotenuse. Then the other two sides, I can label A and I can label B. And those are my legs. So I'm going to put leg and leg. Okay, let's do one more example together. I'll give you a second to write that down. Okay, let's look at number 2. Again, I look at my 90-degree angle right here, and I make an arrow out of that. Across from the 90-degree angle is our C. Because our C is always the hypotenuse. Then I just label the other two A and B. Now you have to label them. Have to. Okay? And then we'll start to go from calculations from there, but this is our first step into calculating Pythagorean theorem.